Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to Recovery Live. C4 Innovations is thrilled to bring you another Recovery Live event. And if you've attended previous events with us, you know that we always try to bring top-tier speakers, interesting and challenging issues, and then creative strategies that really help peers and non-peers alike in improving the lives of those we serve. Recovery Live events also try to identify and elevate the voices of individuals that may not be immediately recognized nationally, but who are perhaps the best suited to identify the challenges and barriers that they've been encountering, as well as the successful strategies that they're using to support those folks with behavioral health challenges every day. This often unheard, but really critically important voice was one of the primary reasons we started Recovery Live several years ago. And we continue this tradition moving forward because we know what is happening at the street level can evolve, adapt, and it can change in the blink of an eye. So hearing from those who can alert us to trends and new challenges allows us all to get ahead of issues and be proactive rather than having to react. Next slide, please. So at C4 Innovations, or C4 for short, we are committed to advancing recovery, wellness, and housing stability for people who are marginalized. We're committed to reducing disparities and achieving equitable outcomes. We work to engage, support, and partner with service organizations, with communities, and with systems to develop and implement research-based and evidence-based solutions that are always person-centered, recovery-oriented, and trauma-informed. You can learn a lot more about the work we do at C4 by visiting our website at c4innovates.com. And if you're inclined, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. YouTube is where you will find these Recovery Live videos as well. Next slide, please. Today's Recovery Live events are, like all of those in the past, very interactive, and this time it's going to be even more so. You'll engage directly with our presenters and each other through a live chat box. But for today's event, we're also going to open the phones so everybody can share once we get beyond the housekeeping here, and you'll all be notified of that opportunity. Today's, next slide, sorry, Lee. Today's event's going to last an hour. It's being recorded, and that recording link is going to be shared with all of you, anybody who registered, and it'll be shared after the event. It'll also be available on the C4 YouTube channel that was listed on the slide here. And if, as you're listening to this content, you feel your organization might benefit from some technical assistance around this topic or any other issue that's really related to recovery, peers, et cetera, email us at training@c4innovates.com. We're going to be happy to discuss those needs, brainstorm strategies and solutions, and then work together with you to determine the best technical assistance that we can bring to the table to meet your individual needs. All right, slide 6, please. As I mentioned, we're going to come at this a little differently today because we are going to open up our phone lines and you'll all have an opportunity to share what it is that brings grace and hope for you during the holidays. Let me do a quick intro of our facilitator and our speakers today. Ken Craybill will facilitate today's discussion. He is the Director of Training with C4 Innovations. Raquel Garcia, who is a coach, creator, and the CEO of an amazing organization called Hard Beauty. Alex Fidalgo, who is a peer support specialist with C4 Innovations. And then Nate Batiste, who is a Project AMP fellow and an intern with C4 Innovations as well. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Ken. That's where the good stuff is. Ken, can you get us underway, please, sir?
Thank you, Stephen. Welcome, everyone, from wherever you are in the world. And I'm delighted to be your host. The good stuff is still coming. And what we wanted to do is begin with choosing 3 folks to kind of kick us off and share what it is that brings us hope, joy, peace, comfort, particularly in this holiday season, but also just realizing and acknowledging how hard these times are and have been, and not just in our personal lives, but also just the whole envelope, the whole cloud covered sky of COVID and racism and all of these things, and political strife and so much more. And so these are hard times and our brains are not necessarily working properly. And I think all of us on this panel probably can attest to that in many different ways. So this is not a time to just pretend like we're kind of trying to be cheery and make everything all better. It's really a time for us to share very authentically and genuinely what's happening, but particularly shine a light on where we find hope, where we find a sense of ability to see light, and in whatever form that comes. So having said that, please, as you listen to our initial three presenters, prepare yourselves to come forward and be a presenter as well. And you can do some show and tell if you want, if you have things in your environment that help tell the story, that's great too. You can be creative as you want. There's no real rules around this other than we'll just ask you to share in kind of a minute or two kind of segment of time for those of you who will be sharing later. So Raquel, I'm gonna start with you and ask you to begin, please.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me here today. And welcome to all of you who've taken the time out of your day to join us. My name is Raquel Garcia. I am a woman in long-term recovery who does run an organization in Colorado. We have a beautiful day today. But yesterday wasn't that for me. I'm known for having people meet me where I'm at. I meet people where they're at often. And today, my organization is called Hard Beauty for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons that life is hard, and right now in the world, we are all experiencing that. And it's also full of things that are beautiful. Where I'm at today is 8 days ago, I have a beautiful bonus girl that I take care of. Her name is Sabrina. She's one of the joys of my life. She came to me about 3 years ago. And last Thursday, she lost her mom. So today, the last 2 days, I've spent the time with a young girl who's 20 years old, who, because of opiate use, has lost her mother. And so today is a hard day for me. I was very candid with the group when I came in that today is rough, but joy comes in the morning for me. And tonight we are all getting swept away as a family, and we get to go spend some time in Florida and rejuvenating ourselves. And so one of the things that brings me joy is during the holidays is an opportunity for respite. I kind of knew ahead of time we would need this. And so one of the things is going to go connect with my family. It brings me a great joy. And we will get to bring joy to a girl who is very sad for a few days. She's actually going to join us and my family for 6 days. And we're going to go take her away and bring as much joy as we can to her during a really rough time. So I'm often reminded that not everybody, holidays are rough and they can be a rough time for people. And this year particularly, it is a rough time for me, which is very odd for me. This is not something I'm comfortable with. I'm usually the joy comes in the holidays for me, but this month is a rough month. So I have an opportunity to connect with others. And so I'm going to sit next to her and I'm going to let her cry on my shoulder. And I'm going to let her have fun at Universal Studios. And so I think it's a combination and a balance of the two of those for family. But also the opportunity to let her have her emotions and feel. So one of those things that brings me great joy is prayer. You'll see behind me there is a prayer board. There are 475 cards on that prayer board. They look like this. And one of the things that brings me joy and comfort during the holidays is the opportunity to pray and be there and care for others. And so that's 475 prayers that I pray over and over constantly for people who are seeking some sort of solace or comfort in their lives. And so sometimes what I'm also reminded is it's not always about me during the holidays. It's about others, and sometimes where I can be of service. And it's probably where I find the most joy is when I can be there for others during the holidays. So it's about giving and not receiving for me. There's my 2 cents. I'm going to go ahead and pass this on to Nate. Nate, how do you celebrate the holidays?
Hi. First of all, I want to start off by saying thank you so much, Raquel, for sharing that with you, because as a lot of us know, the holidays aren't always the best for us. Sometimes we go through troubling things. But I just want to keep it really simple. This is my favorite thing during the holidays because a lot of us don't reach out enough to family, to friends, to associates that we might not have known. So I love picking up my phone during the holidays and just sending out a text message saying, "Hey, how are you? Happy holidays. Are you doing okay?" Because you never truly know what somebody is going through until you actually reach out to them, till you talk to them, till you know, take a step into their world for a minute. And with that, I will pass it over to Alex.
First of all, thank you. I'm the newbie here, C4 Innovative. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I'm tired. I've been training since September nonstop, and I just finished RCA this morning. Um, but it brings joy, you know. I love the energy, Steve. Like, when you were saying these great things, I was like, wow, he's putting a lot on our shoulders, you know. uh, it's just great to be alive, That those are the things that I count, that I'm able to get up in the morning, be able to see my kids and families and get to enjoy that. I do this work. I am a personal long-term recovery as well. Um, and I do this work because I want people to recover. Simple as that. I don't want no recognition. I don't want people to give me no palms in the back. I'm just happy that somebody opened the door for me to walk through these doors and be able to do this kind of service, man. And you know what? I want everybody to have that. Um, One of the things that I do is last Friday, I feel really proud because I'm moving this movement about Spanish. Because as I'm a Latino man, I believe that language shouldn't be a barrier for people to get into recovery. So I'm making that scale and I'm moving. So now I'm doing a lot more Spanish trainings because listen, man, I just want people to recover. And I think that's the hope, right? I'm grateful that I'm able to get up and have that family, have that place where I can enjoy it. Um, I'm looking forward for some time off. Like, next week is my last training and then I'm off into next year. So I'm so happy about that. Like really, we need to take care of ourselves as well. So folks, it's very important that we do these things, that we take care of ourselves. If we don't do it for ourselves, then, we won't be able to give nothing to anybody else as well. Right. And I always say I don't do anything. All I do is I support people. I stand right next to them and they do all the work and I just provide resources and I just like watching the flower blossom. Right. And I'm so happy that I was chosen to be in this company because I have seen some of the great work that they do. And, when I move in places, it's a spirit that moves me. And I just want to carry hope. And hopefully, along with C4 and some of the folks that are here, uh, definitely want to connect with Raquel, definitely want to connect with Nate, and so we can keep moving the scale. So keep carrying this hope for everybody, whether you celebrate the holidays or not.
Hey,
And that's
Alex,
my
I
two
want
cents.
to I want to piggyback off something you said because I want to pull it to light because many of us do this work. And I get to, you talked about this time off thing, right? It's like this foreign thing called time off. And I am so grateful that we started doing some mandatory sabbaticals for ourselves because had I not, to be honest, I had this trip pre-done. I've been planning for it and respite and had it set. And I'm so grateful I did because now, the universe knew this was what we were going to need. And now we have this opportunity to unplug. So I just want to highlight for those of us who do this work, how important it is for us to disconnect and take care of ourselves and that it's okay to do so. Because I think that definitely allows us to do this work at a joyful level a lot longer so that we can continue to do that. And I think that allows us also to maintain our joy for our families during the holidays, right? We're not so spent that we aren't, we can keep a positive attitude and keep that spirit going through our personal lives, not just in the work that we do. And it's really important to us that we maintain those relationships professionally and personally.
Yes.
I'm going to piggyback off of that because that was so amazing to hear. But I also want to shout out something that Alex said, which was self-care. And being in the professional world, you hear a lot of you have to work these long hours. You can't really take days off. You got to work through all of your projects. And a lot of people say that if you take time for yourself, that's selfish. And that is completely not true because, like Raquel said, you have to be able to take care of yourself before you can take care of others. It's just like being on an airplane. You know, you wouldn't put on everybody else's face mask before you put on yours because at that point you are stopping yourself from helping. You know, C4 does such amazing work with young people, with individuals, everybody. It wouldn't be possible if the people of C4 didn't take time for themselves because I just want to give a shout out. Like, yeah, y'all are amazing. Okay. I'm freshly new into this world too, to C4, and it is just an amazing organization. They're always fighting for more. They're always pushing the boundaries. They're always raising limits. So never be afraid to take time for yourself.
And that's the key, you know, that I always say, and I tell people, listen, I work for myself, right? Like I even though I work for C4, but I picked a job where it was on call for that specific reason, because I want to control the work. I don't want the work to control me. And people get to this level where like Raquel, she is CEO, but if being a CEO, you always at work, then why am I having my own company when I'm gotta work more than what I was working 40 hours at another company, right? And it's just in almost 9 years, I was being able to accomplish that where I dictate when I want to go to work and when I don't want to go to work. Because you know what? Let's be honest, and we're going to talk about honesty here, right? There are times that I don't want to do something because mentally I'm not there. And that's not helpful to the people that we work for. I did a lot of drugs in my youth. So I need to understand that sometimes um, mentally I don't have it. But it's okay to stay home and say, hey, listen, you know what? Call my supervisor and say, look, I can't do this today, right? Because I don't want to do no harm. And the first person that's gonna know that I'm not okay is my wife, right? When I wake up in the morning, I let her know, like, listen, it's not a good day. And like my daughter is 13 and she wants all the got attention and she takes care of that and my other kids and it's like I gotta be honest and say, listen, sometimes I just gotta go in the basement and play with my music and do these other stuff. So take care of Alex so Alex can be okay with doing some other stuff. But it's also I'm mindful to the people that we're working. These are people's life. This is not just anything. These are people's life. And one of the things that I always understand is people ain't gonna remember how profound you are and all the beautiful things that you say and everything. The only thing people are gonna remember is that first interaction, how you treat them. And if I didn't treat them in a respectful way and a dignity and everything because I wasn't in my best game and I choose to went to work, then that's all they're gonna remember. And I don't never want to make nobody feel any kind of less than joyful when they come and see me, or at least motivated to do something. And if I'm not at my best, I'm not going to do it. So it's important that we do these things.
So
I'd like to
Alex, I'm sorry, Ken, go ahead.
go, Stephen.
Listening, and it just reminds me of sort of my early years in doing service work at, early in recovery, really, part of my entire sort of relationship with my creator is to give back, is to tell my brothers what I saw. And I can remember, in fact, I can remember doing a training here locally. I'm in the Nashville area. And the trainer, I was telling this trainer, oh my God, self-care and, taking time. Yeah, I got time to do that when I'm dead. There are people dying out there. And his words to me were, stop it. And there's a little bit more to that story around the term stop it. But what I want you to understand is it took that direct sort of conversation with me and pointing out that, without some space for Stephen, the rescuer cannot rescue if the rescuer isn't healthy enough to rescue. And I think, Nate, you put something like that in the chat just a little bit ago. I think that's really accurate. And Alex, I'm just beyond impressed that you're able, because this is a tough thing for us, you're able to say, today ain't a good day. A lot of times we struggle not to let others down because in recovery, we have a chance and we don't want to blow it. And we want folks to know how invested we are in the work and in the service that we're providing to others. So, it's really exciting to listen to you all. And Raquel, great, just great empathy and it's not sympathy because I know what you're doing. And I recognize that, there is joy, there is hope, and there is grace within that. And so thank you just for, not making it about you, really supporting this, this other person. It's an amazing thing. And it's really, really hard for some of us to do. So to all of you, thank you. And I respect what you're all bringing to this table. So I'm looking forward to being able to share too.
Thank you, Raquel, Nate, Alex, Stephen, and this is not an intention to ask you to be silent any longer, but to invite others into the conversation and just build the community of conversation here. So please, I know some of you have already, made some comments. Martha, I noticed you talked about 40 years in the field. It's like, wow. And we'd love to hear in more detail how you have been able to maintain and stay vibrant in all of that. And I also, I'm seeing some wonderful quotes here. So please, whatever you've got to offer, please chime in.
I know Martha
Yeah.
says in there, she says she can't get on because she's on an old computer. But what I read her comment and she said the only way she's been able to sustain this for 40 years is doing that, is making sure that she takes care of herself. And so I think I'm also hearing is listening to the people who went before us, right? What did they do? How did you last? What you got, wise man, what you got, wise woman, to tell me so that I can, because I want to do this for a long time. One of the things I had said, and I'm going to open it up because I think it'll start some conversation, is sometimes in healthy family in order for me to maintain healthiness in my recovery and during the holidays, it's to not engage with family. I know that's a controversial one, but I think people are afraid to say that. Sometimes I need to not go around my family in order to keep some peace in my holiday. So I just wanted to open that up. Now I'll really actually be quiet, Ken.
Maybe.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, Robert.
Sure.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for y'all putting on this platform today. I've been attending your C4 trainings for about a year and a half now, and I am just so appreciative for all of your input. Alex, definitely great job in identifying the need to be able to take that time for yourself. I also identify so much with what Nate shared about the oxygen mask from the airplane. I've used that analogy a million times. It would make no sense for me to try to help everybody else put their oxygen mask on, and then I'm out of oxygen myself. So my experience over the last 20 years, and I put it in the chat, is that, being a licensed social worker, I had to purposely take time to take care of myself. Like someone had put it in the chat about you can't keep on emptying your cup and thinking that you're filling somebody else's cup, because you're not giving them your best your best version of you, your expertise, your input, you being as a resource to them if you're working out of an empty cup yourself. And there's many mornings that I get up as well and be like, you know what? I'm just not feeling it today. And I need to be responsible enough for myself to be able to make that call or text or email or whatever it may be to correspond to whoever I'm having to answer to and letting them know, hey, listen, I need to take a personal mental health day. I just need to take care of myself. I have a 14-year-old daughter too, so I identify with that too. And you talk about demanding. And, even when I get home from work, you know what I mean? It's like, daddy this, daddy that, it's like a million questions for a 14-year-old girl especially, nothing personal, Raquel. There's a million and one questions that comes, and considering I am the most positive male role model that she has, I want to always be there available for her to be able, whatever questions she may have. And it's not uncommon that, I've had to say, baby, you're going to have to give daddy 20 minutes to a half an hour to decompress from the day, and I will get back to you. Maybe we'll talk before dinner, or maybe we'll talk after dinner. Did you have homework? But I have to do that for myself first, because if I'm no good for myself, then I'm no good for anybody else. So that's what I try to practice to the best of my ability. I go to the gym 3 times a week, twice during the week when I get off work, and once on Saturday or Sunday morning, whichever day fits when I'm not having to work on the weekend. But, I still have to do what I have to do for myself. I try my best to eat right, try to limit how much red meat I intake during a month. Like I do some things for myself to make sure that I take care of myself. It's definitely important for us that are human service providers. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Others?
So
Calling from inside the meeting, but I hope that it's okay for me to share. I can go on video, so it's not just not just coming from nowhere. I put in the chat earlier one thing that I definitely really vibe with for this is that Audre Lorde put it really best, in my opinion. Caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare. And I think for marginalized folks, I identify as non-binary, and a variety of mental health conditions really ticked several boxes when they created me, thankfully. But I think that when there are so many forces externally that are trying to, destroy what you're building, it is incredibly powerful and revolutionary to just continue in taking care of yourself and loving yourself, because there are plenty of people who are willing to not do that. Like you standing up for yourself and giving yourself that love. And especially as you were saying, Raquel, those boundaries are essential, right? Like if you don't create those boundaries, you're not setting yourself up for success in terms of taking care of yourself. So I totally vibe with not having family around necessarily. You can, there's lots of other days of the year that you can see them, and you can have those boundaries, and you can create new traditions anytime you want to. So that's my sticking point. I'm in my house for the first time. Didn't have a house before this year. And so my wife and I decided it's just going to be the two of us. And that's cool. I don't have to have my parents around. They don't like Christmas anyway. So I want to thank you guys all for sharing. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Lee.
I guess I can also chime in. This is Vanessa. I'm off camera, but I wanted to thank you, Lee, for sharing. And I kind of wanted to also thank you, Alex, for the work that you do with the Hispanic and Latino community. I am Brazilian, so I immigrated to this country when I was 10 with my parents and my sister. So there is a lot of trauma in there, and immigrating to a whole new country, and the struggle that my parents still go through with trying to communicate. And so having somebody who can speak your language and really help you recover with mental health conditions or substance misuse, I think it's really important, and I really thank you for that. And I think that's really, really important.
If I may, this is Robert again. I wanted to chime in again because something just now hit me about the fact of being around family during the holidays. and it possibly being not the healthiest or not even the most of welcoming. There's a lot of people in my family who still choose to partake in substances, and I don't choose to. The difference for me anymore has been to have a plan. I make sure that I have a way out when it becomes a little bit too much. And I also make sure that I still show up. That's first off, but if it's going to be an event or an occasion to where I know that there are going to be a multiple of my family that all are in that turn up mode, as they say these days, I know how to gracefully bow out and say, you know what, I'm not going to be able to attend. That's part of my self-preservation for myself. And I like that word being used earlier, preservation, self-preservation. I just don't, I can't afford to jeopardize anything that my God has given me to be able to give to others. So whether that be around people who are choosing to become belligerent after they've had too many and don't know when to stop, whatever that substance may be, or those who just seem to want to feed the drama. I just don't have that to do. There's a whole lot of elephants in the room in my family. I was raised with, that mentality, what happens in this family stays in this family type of stuff. And they're great big purple elephants in the room, all the time at every family event. And, sooner or later, when someone has maybe 2 or 3 too many, or some people have just been holding on and the pressure valve is just ready to blow and then it just comes out sideways. Listen, I myself, because I'm a social worker, know the importance of being able to have a therapist or a counselor or someone to be able to be that pressure valve for me so that I can be as healthy as I can to be able to even address these things. But it should not be at a family function. But just so happens to be almost everyone that I've been to probably in the past 10 years has had some of that potential for explosiveness in it. And I just don't have that to do. So I bow out a lot. Sometimes I show up, sometimes I bow out, but I still have to self-preserve myself.
I like that, but it goes back to what Nate said earlier. This is our best friend, because what I do is there are families that I can definitely be around, because you know how to okay, these friends. I learned how to we out my drama out of my life, and then you always got that piece of your family that has a lot of drama. So I just called them, hey, how you doing? That was great. Is everything good for you? And then I don't have to go and see them. You know what I mean? Because I don't want that my spirit to be lit. But then there's the ones like my immediate family, my parents, my kids, and things. And I can handle that. But I'm with you, bro. It's like there are some families that unfortunately, they're gonna continue doing what they're gonna do, and I respect that. That's where they're at. But again, it's like, where you feel the best. Where does it, you feel in this day and age, because I'm in recovery, I gotta cherish that. And I don't know about nobody else, but I cherish that, right? And what I bring to my space and how I do that is what makes the difference. And not all the time I gotta be with everybody. And that's the whole thing. You gotta continue doing this kind of work, because we love this kind of work, right? We all love it, and that's why we're doing it. And we continue doing. So we learn to weed out all that negativity and just keep some of the positive. Whenever the negativity that comes to me is the things that you can't stop, right? Like life is going to continue. Somebody's going to get sick, a friend, a family, things are going to happen. This COVID-19, right? We didn't expect this. Obviously, that was it was very hard for all of us, because we're not used to be, I love technology. I'm a technology freak, but we weren't used to sitting hour after hour in Zoom. So that's another way of taking care of ourselves as well. So, I get that.
What's funny to me is that like for the scenario that I was speaking on of the family having those opportunities to kind of like that pressure valve, that my older sister, who who doesn't think she has a problem, right? but has had 3 DUIs and has had to do, a couple of those weekends in jail type of thing. That because of what I practice in my life, called me after one of these family events and said, hey, I've noticed the way that you handle things are a whole lot different than from what you used to. Can you tell me how you do that? And I'm telling you, it was such a joy that it wasn't the words that I spoke, it was the behavior that I exhibited that still was carrying a message. And it was from my sister. And I need to tell you, like, my sister was like as bad as I was at one time. So for her to have, be able to see that and to be able to ask for that help, man, it just meant the world to me. So.
Right. After 12, I've been in recovery almost 12 years. I'll have 12 years in January. And I think it gives me this opportunity to look back, and I have these like layers. When I remember I tried to be super family engaged and I was going to save them all and all of that. And that was about holidays number 1 and 2. Yep. Out. I saw your face, Alex. I got you. Right. Bad Mayday. And when you are in my family, I'm the first generation. Like, I'm the breaker of these things that have happened in our family. We're doing those generational chain breaking. It makes it very hard for me sometimes in my family to engage. And so the hardest thing for me sometimes is it's the kindest thing I can do. Sometimes the kindest thing I can do is to not engage. I don't think it's an act of me being selfish or selfless. I know my limits. I think it's a mastery thing. I know myself so well that I know where I am my best and where I'm not. And I don't want to go where I'm going to leave negative thoughts. I don't want to talk mess about you. I don't want to gossip. And so I'm not going to participate because I know me well enough to know that I might do that, right? That's the reality of 12 years of recovery, is that I don't want to be that person anymore. And so the kindest thing sometimes I can do is not engage. And, from somebody who I had a rough Thanksgiving this year and, sober, free, substance free. And I've been away from it for a long time. But I can realize sometimes when I stick my extension cord back in certain places where I'm getting shocked. And this part of my recovery, I count. I was very selfless. I was very open. And like you said at the beginning of recovery, Stephen, when we're just trying to help everybody, now I get to count as part of the people I help. And so I guess to account, I put myself into consideration there because I don't want to cause harm, like you said, Alex, right? Not causing harm in where I go. So it's about knowing myself and knowing my limits, not so much about always putting on a smiley face everywhere, because that causes me damage. When I keep putting myself in positions that I am not my authentic self over and over again, I suffer. So I no longer choose suffering also. And that means being inauthentic. Now, can I, like you said, Alex, I like what you said, is that some people only got to touch 3-4 times a year, and I could do it with a cell phone. We don't have to have meals. We ain't got to hang out for hours, just knowing who you can and can't be engaged with. I do think that is the best preservation over the holidays, because I've just had to get back into some family and I realized, gosh, the best thing I ever did was probably just stay away for a little bit, and that's just the kindest thing I've been able to do in some situations.
Hi, I'm Chaz. So I'm in Massachusetts. Yeah, the whole family thing. So I'll have 10 years in February, and my family does not understand addiction. And I found my brother dead from an overdose in my bed. And my mother still this day blames me and tells me he wasn't an addict. And I'm just like, are you kidding me? And a severe alcoholic. And, he was only a year younger than me. So the holidays are always difficult for me anyway because of that. But then going around my mother, who's my biggest trigger and my biggest resentment, I need to mentally prepare for it. And I just got over COVID and being in isolation for a month. And I'm a social person and I still don't she's been hounding me. Are you coming? Are you coming? I was like, yeah, I'll drive 6 hours in one day just to make you happy. But at the same time, I kind of feel obligated because my brother's not there, so it's kind of like, for me, I know spiritually, my brother would want me to be there because my family is riddled with some mental health and it was passed down to me. So on top of the disease of addiction, I got some mental health issues. So I know I'm not right, but I know I've done a lot of work and I've been blessed with an amazing therapist for the last 14 years. who told me not to talk to my mother for 4 years when I first got into recovery, because she said she is the one that will trigger you. And it's difficult, especially coming from an Italian family where when my grandparents were alive, we all went there and we sat at the table and manja for 8 hours and food just kept coming. And, so there's kind of that honoring my grandmother too, to go, but there's a lot of resentment still forming today. Like I have a nephew who's 5, who's only seen me twice. He doesn't know who Auntie Chaz is. He doesn't know he has a crazy aunt, and like my family will say something and I'm like, you know what, you're all crazy too. It's just, I'm doing something about it. So I don't want to hear about the fact that I need to step out to take some meds because I'm doing something about it. You guys are worse because you don't even know you're crazy. You think how you're acting is okay, and they still don't notice the difference in my behaviors. They still see me as the rebellious teenager with the big mouth because I'll call it like I see it, and they don't like that, and I grew up with children should be seen and not heard. It doesn't matter how old you get, children should be seen and not heard. And it's like, if I'm going to be here, you're going to hear me because I'm not going to take on that negative persona that you're trying to paint me in. And Alex, you were saying about the phone. There are so many times on my phone, I will tell my mother, my phone's about to die. I gotta go because I could feel it. I do anger management because I still need it. So it's great that I'm able to do it in a group, with my beautiful addict mothers. And like I tell them, you can feel it in your body. When I start to feel it in my feet, I need to get out because if it gets up to my mouth, I'm going to probably cause some harm, but I've learned in this process, and I appreciate that you brought up family because it made me a little more aware that I still need to have some boundaries with them because I don't want to hurt nobody. Like, I know I still got some resentments to work on, and I'm growing more every day, but I don't want to hurt nobody, even my mother. She's still my mother. I love her. The bitch is crazy. But, so am I. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's just, I'm doing something about it today. I'm choosing to live a different life. I'm choosing to not use a substance. I'm choosing to not run the streets and do the things I was doing. And I don't need my family to give me credit for that because I know where I came from. And I don't forget that. And they can't accept that. Like the fact that I was homeless just blows their mind. And it's like, but where were you guys? None of you helped me. None of you helped me. None of you were there. So I don't want to hear it, So I just want to thank you for this space and bringing, to the light the things I do. I definitely feel nothing happens by mistake, and thank you. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so
Chaz,
much for sharing.
good grief. Thank you for sharing that. Raquel put in the chat, I see you and I hear you. I would echo that. And I will also say, I am you. And I so understand. I can't say I've had your exact experience. None of us can, but we have very similar things, particularly around our family. And one of the things that, as I've been listening to everybody here today, there was something that I think, Alex, you said that really stood out, and it was around loving yourself and, being, I think, kind and gentle to yourself. I don't think those were your exact words, but I did hear, love yourself. And some of us really struggle with that. And I'm one of those people where, the beat down from my family, the stigma, the bias, the trauma that I've dealt with, a lot of that stigma I internalized, and I still carry a ton of it. I have bad imposter syndrome. I have bad, the moment anything goes wrong, it's all I can focus on. There's, all those things, and they're all part of being, sort of internalizing those stigmatizing messages and then starting to believe them. And one of the things that, that I wanted to share is it's a quote from, of all people, Charles Bukowski, who, most of his stuff we probably wouldn't be able to share, kind of on the air. But this particular quote just really, when I saw it, it absolutely shifted my paradigm. And basically he said that sometimes you climb out of bed in the morning and you think, I'm not going to make it. But then you laugh inside, remembering all of the times you felt that way. And when I read that, it helped me remember that I have awakened in situations and conditions, withdrawal from heroin, waking up in San Quentin. I mean, I've had some real down times, and I've survived them all. And so today, when I think about, the sort of moving through the holidays, and they're tough times for me as well. I don't have family anymore. They're all dead. And many of them have passed away from, either substance misuse or conditions related to that, particularly alcohol. But for me, being able to look in the mirror surrounded by my family and kind of like the guy looking back, still not quite love yet, but I can like that guy looking back at me. And I have a way to compare who I used to be with who I am today. And what's most powerful about that is that there's no more chameleon. What you see is actually what you get. Raquel hit on this when she first started talking, but I am the authentic person in front of you. And I don't have a secret life where if you really knew me, you wouldn't have anything to do with me. That's how I spent most of my life. Today, that's different. And it's because of the work I do, the recovery that I've embarked on, I've worked through, and an understanding that I can't fix it all, and I can do what I can to support my brothers and sisters. And that's what I do every day.
I just want to say something because I love this whole family topic that we're going through, because as we've seen just from this conversation, for some, family is a trigger. For some, it's a place where they find joy and happiness and can be surrounded. I know for me, it's a mixture of both. And I don't know how many other people can say that, but I literally limit my time with my family. I am in Louisiana, but I live 4 hours away from my family. I live in Ruston. My family's in Baton Rouge. I literally tell them I'm only coming for 3 days, or I'll be there for a week, or, it's just a weekend trip down, because I know me personally, my mental health is going to be in question if I stay any longer than that at that certain period of time, between work and between school and between my family themselves. I just know I can't spend that much time around, because once I hit my breaking point, it's no longer happiness and joy and laughing around the kitchen table. It's anger and frustration and me starting to resent everyone for doing anything, breathing wrong, looking at me, flipping a coin. It doesn't matter at that point. It's a whole nother switch and something that I don't like to go into. And so that's how I keep myself happy and positive and full of joy over the holidays, is limiting that time with family, because I know family can always be a trigger. They can, and they push a lot of buttons. But being able to decide how long I'm there and how long I'm around is what really keeps me going.
That's awesome. He said inviting the light. I think Steve says it all. I think it's just being genuine, being true to yourself, who you are, and being okay with who you are. I think that's inviting the light. And it's not about perfection. It's about who you are today, right? And we, none of us reach the pinnacle. I'm never gonna reach that pinnacle. I just continue to evolve, whatever life brings to me, and that's the light, folks. That's what I see in light. I just continue to be teachable, because as long as you stay teachable, then life changes. Well, as long as I feel that I learned everything, then nothing's gonna happen, right? And that's that humility going away. And by all means, I'm not saying I'm humble. I work towards that, right? I work towards being around people that I see that they display these qualities of humility and gratitude and things like that. So like that, I don't forget those things. And I think those are the key points of what bringing the light into your space is the best thing I can put it.
Alex,
Yeah,
it was just
I
beautifully
wrote it in the
stated.
chat. I
Thank you.
said, I think I hear it's like being the light. In order to bring the light, I must be it. And the best way sometimes for me to be the light is not to show up. Sometimes maybe the best light is for me is to grab a prayer card before I go. Sometimes the best light, like Robert said, is maybe I go work out before I show up. Or, the best, me being the best light, like Nate said, is my cell phone. That's me being the light instead of expecting the light as being the best version of me. I heard that when you just said that, Alex. It's like, what is the best version of me? And sometimes and that is it. Instead of expecting the light, bringing the light into the situation is being my authentic self. And whether that is good or bad, right? I had to tell everybody I wasn't going to be available yesterday. I have been short for the last 3 days. I've had a tragedy happen in my life and it's made me very short. So I've told people that because that's the best version of me I can give them right now until I can get this layer done and I'll find another a step forward, and today it's not that day. Today, the light is all of you, to be honest, a place that, I just got off of a really scary trip, to be honest, one of the most mortified trips. And I got this wonderful space. The beauty is being the light is the room of recovery, because it doesn't matter where we go. It doesn't matter who you are. If I've never met you, all 32 faces on here, this is a common thing, is that we are the light and we can be wherever we are. And we have this common space where we can bear our souls with one another. And then all of a sudden, I do feel lighter today. I feel lighter today in this moment than I did before I came on this call. So I want to say thank you for being the light for me today and making my light, my day a little lighter. And I appreciate that. That's what recovery is to me, it's a huge light. It has been since the day I said I'm done. People in recovery have been my light. So I appreciate you.
I'm reminded, Raquel, of Leonard Cohen's lyric that everything has a crack in it. That's how the light gets in, right? And even in really dark times, just a sliver of light, or as I think Martha or somebody said, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of doing something can make a huge difference. I want to just note that we're about 8 minutes out from coming to a close. And I'm just curious if there's anybody who hasn't yet had a chance to bring their voice forward, either in the chat or even unmuting, who would like to. Please, no pressure intended, but would love to hear those voices. And so if this is a good time, please do so.
I had to move away from my family, and my family, they live about an hour, a couple hours away. Everybody in my family is completely and utterly different, and they kind of shunned me because I was the completely unique, kind of parentheses, put that up there, person, because I had a very different way of thinking, and I didn't fit their, I guess you could say, their cookie cutter mold of a person. So I now live in the middle of a cornfield, literally in the middle of a cornfield. The farmers are all around me farming. So I live there. I've seen my family maybe twice since, or no, I take it back, 3 times. Sometimes I have to do a Zoom with them. That's a lot easier sometimes because you can turn that camera off. And it's just really kind of hard for me to relate to family sometimes. I mean, I raised my great niece as my own daughter. She is basically me in female form. So, and my family kind of does not like that because she has a mouth as well as I do. But me and her both get each other, but we do have hard times expressing how we feel. And it's just, we both just shut down and we're just quiet. And my family hates that. So they want us to talk, they want this, and it's the best way for us to do is just to be quiet, sort it out ourselves, or she'll call me or I'll call her. We'll talk. And like we talked last night and about Christmas coming up. She was like, Bubby, what are we going to do? I was like, well, I want to show up. And she's like, well, I will too, since you're going to be there. And she was like, but the moment you leave, she's like, I'm parking my car on the outside where I can get out. She's like, I'm running for the hills too. But no, our family just doesn't, I guess you could say, get us, because and that's another reason why I took the position that I have, is because I'm learning how to express myself, learning how to cope with a lot of different things. I'm learning how to do a lot of things all at the same time, instead of just going like what me and her used to do, going there into our like cocoon, as we call it, and we're just quiet. So, and I'm rambling now, so I will be quiet.
You're all good. Thank you, Billy. Yeah. Well, I don't want to shut down the room to anybody, but if you've got something to say, you have 4 minutes to say it, or maybe take a part of that. And anyone want to offer some closing thoughts, ideas? I sure know how to shut down a room, don't I? We could spend the remaining time just staring at Nate's face and seeing his smile.
Hey, I think Steve wanted to say something earlier, or you can go ahead. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us have spoken enough.
Yeah, let's hear from Ken. Ken, what brings grace and hope for you in the holidays? Good job.
It's the little things.
Is there any way we can get this recorded session? I would love to have it saved in our archive. This has been great.
Yeah, I think we can
Robert?
certainly send it out to participants. I think we're not quite sure about spreading it more widely given the level of sharing happening here, but thanks.
All
for
right.
that. Yeah.
Great. Thank you all. Great presenters today. Nate, whatever they say about the stick of butter, don't worry about it, man. Keep smiling, because it's infectious, man. It's all good. Good job.
It is.
I agree. Thank you. I really needed that today. No stick of butter for you. Smiles the shortest distance between two people.
Beautifully stated.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ken. Go ahead. I wanted to. You had a thought there.
You know, I guess the thought is this: that there's no one thing. I think, I teach a course in trauma, and I say that trauma-informed care is the sum total of hundreds, if not thousands, of small, tiny actions and words. And what I do is try to stay attuned to everything around me and those tiny, small actions and words that people convey, and also don't convey. And so it's a both and situation. But I just find that, and I'll just say this, I am not a person who identifies as being in recovery, but some of the greatest joy in my life over my career has been working alongside people who are in recovery. And many of you represent that. And you just bring a vitality and a wisdom and a joy to me that I think we could call it post-traumatic growth. And it's fabulous. And each of us on this call in your own way is living out your recovery, and it truly makes a difference on all of us as care providers, those of us who might not identify that way, but everyone. And so, and honestly, it's about, one of you, I think, maybe, but maybe somebody else defined for me what sobriety is. And the definition was, it's seeing things as they are. And I think when we look in the mirror and see things as they are, without deluding ourselves, without using a substance to, take away the feeling, when we're real. And that's what I see in so many of you, a sense of realness that extends to a level that I don't see in many other people. So I have a lot of gratitude for being part of this. Thank you.
Beautifully stated, Ken. And with that, we have come to the end of our discussion today. I'm just really thrilled that everybody stayed long enough to, just to participate with us. And I have to say, I was reading the chat, and somebody that posted that they, the smiles, they really needed the laughter and smiles today. And I totally understand that too. So let me just say thank you to Ken and to Nate, to Alex, to Raquel, to Robert, to Gina, to everybody who came here and just, shared freely. And this is not always an easy topic to, to dive into. So really, really grateful. We are hoping that folks will return to us in January. We'll be doing some work around workforce readiness and peer professionalism. Again, let me thank the speakers for this amazing discussion. And as we talked about, we're going to make sure that the participants here are likely to get this link. We probably won't share it. We haven't made that decision on YouTube yet. But in terms of Robert, we'll get it to you. And with that, folks, I hope you all enjoy a lovely holiday. Little time off, little work-life balance. We'll see you back in January. Take care of yourselves, folks. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great holiday. Stay safe, please.
Have a
Happy
good one.
holidays,
You too,
y'all.
Rob.
Thank you.